One of the no votes on Measure M is with us right now, the mayor of El Segundo, California. It's a pleasure to welcome to the show Suzanne Fuentes. Mayor Fuentes, how are you?
Good morning, Doug. I'm well. Thanks for having me on your show.
We appreciate you coming on. And why is Measure M a bad idea?
Measure M is a very bad idea, Doug, because it is a forever tax. You talked about a 40-year plan, which sounds great, but this tax goes on forever. It will generate $860 million a year, and they have a 40-year plan. But then after that, they're just going to keep collecting it. There's no plan, Doug.
Well, but I guess, I understand the concern because, we've had Jerry Brown's temporary income tax hike is now going to be extended. But I just look at, you cannot plan mass transit and do long-term construction projects on an ad hoc basis. As you know, as the mayor of El Segundo, you know that you have to have long-term planning. For some things can be done for short-term planning, but some things require long-term planning.
I agree.
There has to be a steady stream of money available to complete them.
I agree. You have to do strategic planning. And did you know right now there's already 3 measures, A, C, and R? R sunsets in 2039. So that's 23 years from now. So we don't have to pass Measure R today. We can wait and come back to the table and have something on the ballot in a year or two. The major reason I oppose this measure, it is not equitable for the entire county. It's all sort of front-loaded in the valley and the west side, and it sounds like the Metro Board has never actually been east or south of the airport. I know you have, but there is nothing that happens down here. If you've ever been down the 405, which is maybe most people's least favorite freeway, there's something called the South Bay Curve, which is quite the challenge. Doug, you and I are 59 years old, okay? It doesn't get funded for 29 years. It will be 88. There will not be a shovel in the ground until we're 90. Now, I get big picture. I mean, I understand that, but so the people in the South Bay are just going to wait for 31 years? That's not equitable. It's not equitable to people in the Southeast. As you may know, El Segundo last year was awarded the most business-friendly city in Los Angeles County. We're an employment center. We are invested in getting people to work. And this plan doesn't do it until I'm 90.
Well, I understand what you're saying, and I guess my frustration is we got to do something. We have to do something. Somebody has to take a bold move and make a commitment. Otherwise, we're going to continue. The project that was a complete waste of money was the $1.3 billion they just threw away widening the 405 through the Sepulveda Pass. The cost of that project would have paid for the tunnel that would bring light rail through the San Fernando Valley to LAX. That would have done more for quality of life and environmental, improvements in this Southern California. And I guess my frustration is, and I totally defer to you on what this will not do for the South Bay and your part of the world. But eventually we have to tie all these communities together into a mass transit system, into a light rail system to make it functional. That's the problem with what we've got is dribs and drabs. People take a train and then they're 6 miles away from work anyway. And there's we need to keep adding to this, and local communities need to tie into the larger infrastructure in order to make it comprehensive for this massively spread out area.
Right. We agree on that, but this measure does not do it. And as far as having a plan, I agree. I am a member of the South Bay Cities Council of Governments, the COG, which opposes this. For 3 years, the COG has been writing to Metro. Since 2013, talking to them about this, we have not received a single letter. No response, nobody from Metro. Now that we're opposing it along with the gateway cities and a broad coalition of the subway riders, the bus riders, the city of Burbank, the city of Beverly Hills, now suddenly we're the darlings of Metro, and they can't reach out to us enough, and they're going to come out with a plan, and they're promising all sorts of things, which sounds lovely, except it's not in the measure. It's not binding. If it's not in the measure, they cannot do it. So now we're being courted that it's non-binding. It's vacuous. It's empty. And there's with everything, there's so many politics in this, Doug. And you, more than anyone, have taught us about follow the money and the downside of term limits. And this all is tied into this measure. So everyone who opposes it has reached out to Metro and asked if we can get together. We are ready to start working on this November 9th. If this doesn't pass, when we defeat this because it doesn't get a 2/3 vote, we will sit down with Metro the next day and start coming up with a plan that is equitable to the entire county.
I just find it stunning that in November, on the eve of November 2016, we still don't have a comprehensive plan for the county.
And I agree with you. And you bring up another good point. This plan is based on old technology. There's so many things, having to do with innovation and autonomous vehicles. I mean, however you think about it, we have technologists who say we are on a cusp of 5 to 10 years to really changing transportation. Yet we're going to base $860 million a year on technology, that's from the 1900s. We're better than that.
Well, we haven't, but we haven't been better than that. I mean, that's the problem. We keep, how many times have we talked? We're talking about Suzanne Fuentes, by the way, who is the mayor of El Segundo, elsegundo.org, elsegundo.org for all things about this important South Bay community. And, the loss of opportunity, the lost opportunity that Jerry Brown's bullet train represents is one of the great shames of modern times, that the governor has decided to spend his political capital and double down on, frankly, the biggest boondoggle in the history of the state of California, which is saying something because we've had some doozies like the Belmont Learning Complex and some others. For the money that's being tied up on that, we could be building a world-class light rail system that would tie the entire Southern California community together.
Yes, I agree.
Unfortunately, that's not what leadership is giving us. What is your political antenna telling you about Measure M? Because it does take a 2/3 vote to pass.
Virtually everybody I've talked to in this area and out of the area is opposed to it for the reasons that I've been talking about. So, even I talked to a small business owner this week who told me, I guess the impact on small business isn't a concern to some on Metro because there's billions of dollars in sales tax not being collected from internet sales because current leadership doesn't have the courage. And there is enough money out there to fix all the roads. They're just not going after it. Instead, they're adding additional taxes.
Well, I'll tell you, if this thing passes and that train gets built, I'm not letting anybody who voted no ride on. I'm going to have the train all to myself. I'm going to put my feet up on the seats and my hands behind my head and say, take me to work. Of course, or take me to the cemetery because I'll be 98 years old. But nonetheless, I'll be going somewhere in style.
Well, you're not going to be taking it to the South Bay, Doug.
Hey, listen.
We'll be long gone.
Susan, thank you so much for coming on and giving the opposite point of view on this.
It's my pleasure, and I hope you'll rethink your stand, Doug.
Oh, listen, here's the thing. The best thing that you have going in favor of Measure M losing is the fact that I support it. Because as a general rule, if I support something, it's guaranteed to lose.
Well,
just look at the 2015 world champion New York Mets.
Yeah, from your lips to God's ear, Doug. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks, Mayor Fuentes, Mayor of El Segundo.